To the one Celtic fans view even in the back at the office, as they say. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Baz. This is the one Celtic fans view, and got a few things to talk about. A few bizarre things to talk about this morning. Completely bizarre. The first I want to talk about is Jeffrey Sloop. Jeffrey Sloop manages to get his hand on an FA Cup winners' medal this weekend. Bizarre. Even though he only played 13 minutes. This is how crazy the English setup is. He played 13 minutes for Crystal Palace on their road to glory, and they beat Manchester City. I fucking didn't even know. There you go. But Jeffrey Sloop managed to get a medal for the FA Cup as well. Not played a minute. 60 grand a week. He's living the dream, isn't he? Jeffrey Sloop is living the dream. Yeah, who cares? Did anyone notice that Casper at the Leicester game? Nope, Lanky didn't. Anyway, good morning, troops. Looking at the media, when I was back home in Scotland, is it an anti-Celtic agenda, or is there something more sinister? I can remember a day, back in the day, tea in the park, when it was in Kinross, for years and years, every Monday, when tea in the park finished, we would because we stayed 20 minutes along the road for tea in the park, we would always hang about till later on. And as the campsite emptied, there were brand new tents left, brand new sleeping bags that hadn't even been used, brand new sleeping bags that hadn't even been taken out of packets, tents that hadn't been taken out of packets, deck chairs and everything camping, and they were all left. And there was no media outcry, really. There was no media outcry for days and days and days. And yes, tea in the park, they cleaned it up. That's what they do, isn't it? And people say, but that's an organised thing. Football fans in Scotland aren't allowed to do anything. You reckon that Casper went down to speak to Vardy? God. Who cares? That'll deal with itself. So yeah, is there something more sinister? Because I noticed that John Sweeney's been getting on an act. John Sweeney's getting on an act saying it's unacceptable behaviour. But if it was an independence rally, fucking on you go, he says. And if it's an Orange Order rally, he turns his back and doesn't look at it and doesn't comment about it. But when it's Celtic fans living the dream, he said, the disorder that took place in Glasgow as part of the celebrations of Celtic's performance is equally unacceptable. All of us want to take football to take its course, for people to enjoy celebrating the club's success and their club's performance. This should involve such implications for other people, for other communities. And I'll tell that to the Orange Order when they do their marches more than once a year, all around Scotland. It's not just... And then, fuck your independence. You're becoming... You'll never get your independence because you're a fucking idiot. Anyway, that's my little rage bit this morning. I should have my black hat on. John Swinney said, I saw some of the scenes at the weekend, and I take it as an opportunity to talk about the alcohol ban in stadiums, unless you're wearing a lounge suit. It's fucking... Scottish football fans are treated as second-class citizens. And I've been to football stadiums in France, I've been to football stadiums in Germany, I've been to football stadiums in Holland, I've been to football stadiums in Spain. And the fans are treated like normal people. Yes, there's big police presence at games, but what I saw at the weekend, and at the end of the... I spoke about it yesterday on the live in the morning. I saw that the football fans were heading away, and it was people that weren't even at the game that were coming to George Square. You could tell by the way they were dressed, for starters. There was absolutely no way that they were at the game. But It is what it is. And they were coming along with that big bag of carry out, and they were heading from the wrong direction for Celtic Park, heading towards George Square also. So it tells you everything that you need to know about Scotland. I think that there is an agenda against Celtic, and I think that we all know there's a massive anti-Catholic agenda in Scotland. I've witnessed it before anybody says anything. I've witnessed it in my working life in Scotland many times, fucking loads of times. Go over 20 years, from Chamber of Commerce lunches to business meetings. I've witnessed firsthand anti-Catholic agenda, and it fucking stinks, and I hate it. And it was probably part of the reason that wanted me to move away from Scotland, to be honest. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Celtic today, and we'll move on from that. I got it off my chest. It's been a while since I've had a bit of a moan. Let's jump into the what could happen in Glasgow's economy if people stop coming over on the boats, spending the money every other weekend. Mike, you got it in one. I took Kaiser to a pub, to a hotel that was full of Irish that stay in the city, paying to the hotel, eat in the restaurants, from all over. It's not just from Ireland. There's people travel from all over. Some of us travel from fucking Spain to do it. Anyway, they can't handle the Hoops winning. Yeah, that's it. That is it at the end of the day. So, let's get back to football. When it comes to... let's talk about what Lanky said. Do you really think that... Nah, I'm not going to add to the speculation. I'm not going to add to the legislation. But I was beginning to fucking hate this place, says Joseph Davison. I could rant about this shit all day long. The Rangers didn't even start off Protestant. They adopted it purely to be against Celtic Catholics. It's rotten. Of course it is. They would hate it more without football fans' money. That's all I know, says Mike. Yeah, I think that, the money that Celtic football fans put into the economy throughout Scotland is to be commended. Lanka says, I'm going to get stick for this, don't care. See if people in the UK didn't fly Palestine flags, I know there would be as much hassle as things would normal. I don't think it's just Palestine flags, Lanky. And I don't think that the Palestine agenda, that's nothing to do with the anti-Catholic agenda in Scotland. Nothing to do with it at all. And then I'm going to say something that you won't like then. That means the Jews are in control of the UK. I said it. The Jews are in control of the UK. See how many unsubscribers I get for that. But anyway, you can't say that if it wasn't for, if people didn't put Palestine flags up, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, mate. You know that. If people didn't put Palestine flags up, people that supposedly like Jews and the Jews wouldn't get their back up. So we are appeasing to the Jews now. Are we appeasing to the Protestants? It's all we seem to do. It's all we seem to do as Catholics. We appease to someone else. Anyway, go on Scotland. Sunny and Girvan, well, it's absolutely scorched out here. I'm glad to be back to the land of real warmth, where you wake up in the morning. Can we get Baz to 22k by Saturday? I doubt it. There's 200 and by the end of the week. It'll come during the summer, mate. Right, Tony Ralston and Kieran Tierney have been announced in the Scotland squad for next month's international doubleheader. Fuck you, Scotland. Why play international games? The season's over. These guys, Tony Ralston and Kieran Tierney, are only going to get a couple of weeks off. They're going to get about 2 weeks off. In reality, well, Tierney will get a couple more. I mean, Tierney's going to be... I mean, they're still going to have to keep themselves... They go to a training camp next week, don't they, for Scotland? I just think it's ridiculous. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're playing football on the 9th of June, the 6th and the 9th of June. They then come back into pre-season training at the first week in July. So one morning in July, I was walking through the prairie. Get me started. And I just think that, these, I mean, you're going to say that Ralston doesn't play every week, so it's not going to do him much. Kieran Tierney's played a lot of football this season, and whilst it's all good, the players getting their international call-ups, I just think that international football this summer is a bit of a joke. Same here. I don't believe in religion. Catholics always standing up for others before standing up for ourselves. Got to make sure the house is in order first. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's the way I was brought up. Morning, Baz for Fife Ken says Monty. It was fantastic being back in the kingdom. The Kingdom of Fife. Let's get back to calling it the Kingdom of Fife. Fuck this orange fucking bullshit anti-Scottish independence agenda of calling it Fife. It was never just called Fife. It's the Kingdom of Fife. I'm going to go on a rant today. When the powers that be of the Orange Order that took over Fife Council years ago decided to take away the Kingdom of Fife logo and replace it with just Fife, it was because they didn't want to admit that there were 7 kings of Scotland buried in Dunfermline, and that would increase the independence agenda in Fife. That patriotism, knowing that there were 7 kings of Scotland's independent nation lying buried in Dunfermline and Fife. Anyway, we move on. I'm fucking on it today. Surely sobered up. Players can refuse to go on international duties, can they not? Yeah, they can, but they don't want to. They're not going to. No player is going to refuse to go on international duty. Greg Taylor. Yeah, there's news for you. Greg Taylor has not been called up to the international squad. Greg Taylor. Yes, that's better, Monty. From the Kingdom of Fife. Let's get it right. I'm just reading some of the comments. I failed my religious education exam in school. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Baz is on one. Yeah, I've surely sobered up, Lorna. Sobered up, and I've no hangover today. So yeah, I love being back. I do love being back, but sometimes it's Ali Boys for Glen Office too. So sometimes it's devastating what's happening to the country. Really, it is devastating. But yeah. You don't need to be religious to know right from wrong. Exactly. The best place in Fife is Logelly. Oh, God. Oh, Lanky, please didn't tell me you're Phil Logelly. You're no Phil Logelly. Jed Johnson's in the house. 33 degrees here in Tunisia. So it's warm. Is that. So anyway, Tony Ralston and Kieran Tierney, who is not a Celtic player yet. I wonder when Celtic will announce Kieran Tierney. Will they wait till the transfer window officially opens? Or will they do it the week after the Scottish Cup final, which is this weekend? And it's a Scottish Cup final that we go into where we don't have Jota and we don't have Rio Hatate, which then concludes to the agenda of who do we bring in this summer. Obviously, Rio Hatate will still be at Celtic for a period of the summer, but Brendan Rodgers will want to bring in a winger. I would refuse to play for Clark if I was Scottish, says Paul Baird. Agents in Cowdenbeath. God, that's a cracking bus. That's a cracking bus. The Cowdenbeath bus was one of the craziest buses going. It is a good bus. I'm just reading this. In Aberdeen, take your C team, you'll be fine. Ian, let's talk football. What has happened to Aberdeen? What has happened to Aberdeen, mate? I feel devastated for you. I really feel devastated for you. The Aberdeen story this year must go down as one of the biggest implosions since Sevco went bust. it's of that. It's that big. I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, we're playing Aberdeen this weekend, so we've got every right to talk about them. And Ian Aberdeen's in the house. Has the Aberdeen is it a collapse? Could you say it's a collapse? It's a monumental fuck up, isn't it? I mean, from chasing Celtic's tail, from at the beginning of the season, singing we're going to win the league. I don't care anymore after what we did to Jack McKenzie. Yeah, what was that all about? I've never been catching up with that. I mean, throwing chairs at your own players. That's like bonkers. But I just think that Aberdeen, Lanky, yeah, you got it. The Hibs that Aberdeen are the new Hibs that. And I mean, Hibs used to get it so far and then just do a Hibs. Do you know what I mean? Aberdeen have done that, but they've took the Hibs that to a monumental level. I mean, all they had to do was stay on the coattails of Celtic for the majority of the season, and they would have finished second easily. I mean, they were a far better team than the Sevconians until the second half of the season, but. Ian Aberdeen says, take your C team. Take your C team. Let the fight go on. Yep, let the fight go on. My son-in-law is a Dons fan. I feel sorry for him. I also wanted them to finish second in the league. I mean, I wanted them. And I said at the beginning of the season, my ideal season for me would have been Kilmarnock and Hearts getting relegated. And... Aberdeen finishing second. That would have been a cracking season, and Rangers finishing about fourth or fifth. But anyway, Aberdeen used to be a nice place under the Tory-led council. It's went to shit. There's nothing good under a Tory-led anything, mate. There's nothing good in a Tory-led anything. Sorry, I'm going to say that because I come from. My dad was a miner, and my family were all miners, coming from Fife, so. I'll always be anti-Tory, no matter what. I can remember the 1980s and the miners' strikes and everything and everything that went on at the time. I've got quite a vivid memory of family members coming in battle scarred as if they'd been at war, covered in blood, fighting with the police during the miners' strike in the 80s. So I'll always be anti-Catholic, anti-fucking Tory, anti-Catholic. That's because I'm thinking about all the anti-Catholic shit that's going on. The whole country has went to shit, says Lorna. Yeah, it has, isn't it? Aberdeen's in decline for years. It has been. I mean, I used to work up in Aberdeen. Ian Aberdeen, well, you might not know them because he's a Paisley guy, isn't he? I mean, I used to work for a medical company that came out of Aberdeen, and there was a lot of good things to be said about Aberdeen back then, and especially when it comes to the oil industry and stuff, and untapped oil sources. But the UK government have played it down as much as they can, and then told us that the oil was fucking useless, and then all of a sudden the oil... Anyway, fuck the Tories. Aye, fuck the Tories. I mean, Labour's not the answer either, but neither is a right-wing... Anyway, shouldn't be talking about politics. Let's move on from that. News-wise, Celtic news-wise, they're obviously the little talk of Frimpong moving, and there's a lot of talk of that. He's actually been in Liverpool to seal his move. How much will that move actually be worth? There's people saying it's actually only worth £29 million, which means that the Celtic will get a bit less. But the fact that Jeremy Frimpong looks as if he's on his way to Liverpool, and it'll mean that Celtic do get a bit of money this summer from that. I mean, it's now down to about 6 million that Celtic will get for it. So a couple of months ago, it was about 10 to 15 million that Celtic were going to get. But because, for some unknown reason, it's went down to around about 6 million. Anyway, it's money in the bank, isn't it? It is money in the bank. Jeremy Frimpong he only played 51 times for Celtic. 51 times he played for Celtic, but was sold for £10 million. He had 3 goals and 8 assists. He wasn't a prolific player when he played for Celtic, but he played 190 games for Bayer Leverkusen. He's got 30 goals. 30 goals for Bayer Leverkusen and 44 assists. Good luck to him. Oh my days. That's what I remember him. It's just like, oh my days. I always thought it was bonkers that we managed to get 10 million for Jeremy Frimpong because we bought him for 300 grand. Yeah, it's better than a kick in the balls. We'll get just under 6 million. Good to see you back in Glasgow at the weekend. Yeah, Jamie, it was brilliant to be back in Glasgow. Neil Kelly's on it as well. I'm a nationalist as well. That's why I left Scotland. I'd always said that if the independent vote went the wrong way, the country would go to fuck and I'd leave Scotland. Sadly. And I mean that. I do mean that. I do mean that. It's fucking shit. It is shit. Celtic Bill moves swiftly for Lennon Miller and Kidsford Garden. Get the deal done, says Monty. The release clause was 29 million for Jeremy Frimpong, which says that Celtic will get around about 5.4 million. Frimpong is tiny as well, just shows that height can be irrelevant. Exactly, and especially after standing next to Chris Sutton and John Hartson at the weekend. Oh, and by the way, I was also speaking to Jackie McNamara Jr. at the airport. Fabrizio Romano deleted a tweet about Matt O'Reilly moving on, and we have a sell-on clause with him also. I don't think he'll move this year. Voted independent. Square Sausage Mick, I can remember voting SNP back in the 1990s when it was unfashionable, and I got told it was a waste of a vote. And even my mum was like that. My mum was like, you voting SNP again? Like, yep. All my days. The very first time I could vote, I voted it. Height is irrelevant, only if you don't live in Scotland. When you look at the St Mirren team at the weekend, and you look at the height of the St Mirren team, we do need some height within our team. And I wonder if we'll go for the big 6'6" guy that we were linked with in the last window. Trying to be a nationalist in occupied Northern Ireland, I have to watch wearing specific colours in certain places in my own country. Unsalutes boat, British flags everywhere. Yeah, I know. Fife was an SNP mad in the 1990s. Yeah, it was. It was because Labour had let Fife down. Really. Never mind what's on Celtic transfer news. Yeah, let's get back to business. There's not a lot of news actually. Obviously there's little bits of snippets that you could say is Celtic transfer news, but until the game is over this weekend, until I don't think that Celtic are Celtic are braced for Nico Kuhn offer. That's been on the go for ages. I mean, the stories that are going around this week are stories that we've been talking about for weeks now. Obviously, the Newcastle United one for Nico Kuhn, that's never went away. Aston Villa have came into the transfer sphere when it comes to Nico Kuhn, and Dyson Maeda, and so is West Ham. West Ham have come into the talk as well, they've just got Daniel Cummins down there. It's going to be one to watch. I mean, West Ham, Leeds United, they've got money to spend. They've got money to spend, and I think that they will potentially. I mean, Kuhn's got he's got his contract until he joined in 24 with a 5-year contract, so he's here to 2029. So when it comes to Kuhn, the ball's in Celtic's court. When it comes to Dyson Maeda, he's got 2 years left on his contract. That's the worry one for me. When it comes to Rio Hatate, he's got 3 years left on his contract. So everything's just speculation at the moment, pure speculation. And the worrying thing, it's all speculation about players leaving. There's not a lot of speculation about who's coming in, because I think that the Celtic board are once again, they're going to get left lagging this summer. Has anyone heard from Carly? No, I've not heard from her for ages. She's still a member of the channel. She is still a member of the channel, Chill Pill. So she has been renewing her membership, but I've never heard from her for ages. I'm trying my hardest not to mention it's treble. I can't talk about it yet. Labour or Red Tories, yeah they are. Anyone heard from Jay Quinn? I hope he's alright. No, I've not heard from Mr. Quinn for a while. I'll be wary of Ange taking a new job and making Maida his first signing. Yes, because Ange will leave. He will leave Spurs, as we know. Will he win a Europa winner? Well, we'll need to wait and see on that one. But I think that he will take another job down in England or maybe abroad, and I think Dyson will be his first choice. That'll be the one to watch. Right, close down these windows. John Sweeney, get him. Fuck. Get that down. I still can't believe that Jeffrey Sloop gets an FA Cup winners medal. Yeah, I mean, everything that's going around, that's front pages, is just old news. And there's absolutely nothing about potential coming-ins to Celtic. Now, I know that the transfer window doesn't open for about another month, but I just see there is something. I mean, the Mateus one doesn't seem to be going away, but I don't think that Celtic are going to. Will they go for Mateus after all this time? Mateus has declared that he's ready to leave Brøndby at last. Now, we've known that since the last window. And if they're going to sell, if the rumour is true that Brighton are going to cash in on Matt O'Reilly, you're not going to sell him for more than 25 million. Surely not. I mean, surely they bought him for 25 million plus there was add-ons that would take it to 30 million. Now, obviously, those add-ons won't come in, but there's reports saying that Serie A, Bundesliga, and Premier League Celtic got a 10% selling clause. For Matt O'Reilly. So we've got a 10% sell-on clause with Matt O'Reilly, and it could be off to Italy, Germany, or the Premier League. I think there's more chance of Matt O'Reilly going to Italy. If there is going to be a move for Matt O'Reilly this summer, I think that it would be Italy. He's came through the English system. You know what I mean? I don't think that he's a player that would improve. I think I've given up on Mateus going to Celtic. Yes, same as me. Yeah, Chilper, unless the board up the wage structure, our best players are going to leave. After all, they've seen how shit Sloop is, and he's on 60k a week. Exactly. I still think it's bonkers that he's on 60 grand a week. A week? What the fuck? A week? That's $250,000 a month. Think about that. Jeffrey Sloop, and he's bang average. Bang average. Chilpill's backing Ange for the final for sure. I'm really caring. Not really caring about that at all. Former Aston Villa lined up. And woo, Sean Maloney is in line to replace Tony Docherty as Dundee manager. Well, there you go. They sacked their manager? Didn't even know that. Be an interesting one to watch over the summer. Anyway, right. It's all kicking off. Get a selling clause for Scott Bain. He must be one of your most decorated keepers in history. Yeah, Scott Bain, Jesus. Scott Bain. Right, I am going to tie this video up this morning because it's all kicking off on the comments. I will be back later on this afternoon. We will do an afternoon live and then we'll be back at 8 p.m. Celtic part-time tonight. I'm going to do some. I've never really looked at any speculation all weekend, so I'm going to take a couple of hours to look at the speculation, and then we'll start talking about tonight. We'll start talking about the game this weekend because it's a massive game this weekend, and it's a game where it sees Celtic have the chance of becoming treble winners again. Brendan Rodgers will be a record breaker in his own right by claiming another treble with Celtic, and then it's on to the summer. And will it be the day? Will this be the last game that Greg Taylor plays for Celtic? Will it be the last game that Dyson Maida plays for Celtic? Who knows? Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. And remember, we're all Celtic fans in here. Fuck, switch it off.